Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast coming to you live on direct from the wonderful studios here in Paterson, New Jersey. Ladies and gentlemen, you're wondering why is the Bob Marley playing in the back? Because it feels like Montego Bay right now in the studio. We got the doors open. I got it. Actually, when we checked on the AC unit, which we shut off, it's actually said 86 degrees. So I want to let you know right now, it feels like straight in the grill vibes in the studio. Big shout out to Bob Marley for representing us so well on the worldwide stage. We're rocking out on the background. It's going to be available on our SoundCloud when we rock out this classic mix a little bit later. But tonight, it needs to be warm in the studio because this podcast is going to be official. Tonight, I'm blessed to have a special guest in the house, but you know how I normally and always start the show. Give a big shout out to everybody who really makes this possible. Round of applause for Manny on the camera. Thank you so much, my boy, for holding us down. Big shout out to E-Dub on the sound. Bong, bong, bong. I got some special guests in the house tonight. Big shout out to Cheese. Yo, thank you so much for coming through, my friend. Big shout out to Corey from the last podcast. You're in the house. Your energy is well appreciated. Big shout out to Corey's buddy, and big shout out to my guest friend who's here. Yo, thank you so much, guys, for kicking back. Your energy is felt in the house tonight. I want to say thank you so much for being here. However, tonight is official.
It's official.
Yeah, right?
It's official.
Round of applause for my boy, Kimar.
Thank you.
Yo, it's an honor to have you here, bro.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And, you know, people might wonder, like, dude, number one is being Jamaican, it's rare that I really rock in with a Jamaican instrumental or a Jamaican song into my podcast. And there's no specific reason why, but I usually pull that when it's a special moment. The last time I did that was when my mom was here.
Oh, man.
So I had to pull that today because we had a powwow earlier,
yeah,
like a pre-interview, and I really got a chance to understand what I'm going to be getting tonight.
Mm-hmm.
The smorgasbord of knowledge and talent that you bring to the table.
Yeah, hopefully, you know, I could help somebody, enlighten people. That's my job. That's everybody's job. One supposed to teach other.
Look, we haven't even started the show yet, and this guy's dropping jewels. Squirrel Rosenberg Radio. Let me just school you on this real quickly. When you say something profound during this entire podcast, I will interrupt you and let you know you just dropped a jewel. And right now, you just dropped a jewel on Squirrel Rosenberg Radio. Could you say that again, my friend?
Everyone is supposed to teach one. If you die with knowledge, it's pointless. If nobody knows what you know, it's pointless.
Wow. So let's just walk into this shallow water because we just jumped into the deep end of the pool. My guests are like, dude, already jewels are being dropped. Thank you so much for what you're bringing to the table right now. However, Kimar, aka Crux Mansata.
Yeah.
Let's expound on that real quickly and how you came to that name.
All right. Well, Crux Mansata is Latin for the Ankh.
The Ankh.
Yeah, the Ankh.
All right. So for everybody who don't really understand the Ankh, explain to us what the Ankh is.
The Ankh is really like an old African. I'm going to say African, but it's really associated with Nubia and Egypt.
Okay.
And it's really, I would call it our original cross. And what it is, it signifies eternal life, you know, represents the male and the female aspect.
Okay.
I mean,
I love where you're going with this.
Mm-hmm.
So the Ankh is a cross,
yeah,
or our cross. Is that cross different from the traditional or the typical cross that you've seen, or?
I mean, we've come accustomed to know the cross that is associated with Christianity.
Correct.
Yeah, but that cross, the Ankh, is probably predates it 3,000 years, so it's significant to Africa in a sense, because Egypt is Africa, even though we don't really consider it Africa. Some people don't because of how the people look, and you know, Africans are usually associated with dark skin and so and this and that, and even slavery.
Yes.
So you know, people don't sometimes, they're not African, they're Egyptian. You know what I mean? But
they try to separate themselves from.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get into that whole dynamic of why that happens.
Yeah.
But just so my viewers or my listeners really understand the Ankh. What is the shape of the Ankh? What does that look like?
Well, it's a circle. Really, crux, it means cross.
Okay.
So the whole name Crux Mansata means cross with a handle because it has a circle on the top of it. And basically the circle represents the female. The long part of it represents the male. Together, female and a male makes life. It represents life. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah, and supposedly the two handles represents your offsprings, like your children and stuff like that.
So to really get people to understand and really be aware of where we're coming from on this, you're talking about a traditional cross with a circle on top.
Yeah. So it's
and a hole in the center.
Yeah.
And that hole in the center. So this is the cross with the circle. That hole in the center represents the female. Mm-hmm. The long section of the cross represents the male.
Yeah.
And the arms represent your offsprings.
Offsprings, yeah.
And that's the predated cross or the African cross.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I would like to, I mean, because the thing is we always talk about Egypt, but even Nubia, and they pretty much share the same culture. Now the thing is, you hear Nubian princess, Nubian king, you can't deny that as being people, we say colored people. But the reason why we spend so much time on Egypt is because you can argue now that these people wasn't black. Because they've been from the Persians, from the Greeks, from the Romans, from the Arabs. So now they're very mixed. So now you can say that these people wasn't black. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people tend to spend more time in Egypt than they do Nubia. And the reality is Nubia has more pyramids than Egypt. The reason why we know about Egypt is because Egypt has the three biggest pyramids, the Giza and all that. But there's about 30 something pyramids alone in Nubia.
So Nubia, geographically, where's that located?
It's right next to it's in I think they call it the Horn of Africa, and that's what we know today is Sudan. That's Nubia.
Okay, so I wanted to stop you right there because we kind of jump from deeper waters to deeper waters, and I kind of want to have my listeners be able to walk through to see where we're coming from, because you have so much awareness of who you are, who we are as a people, and the value and history that we have, that I want to make sure it's delivered tonight. Yeah,
I'm gonna try. I'm
gonna make sure it's done, because that's my job as the interviewer. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, as the guy who's curious. Forget that guy. This is what this is, a conversation over Heineken. As a matter of fact, let me just give a big shout out for the libation. Your big toast to Heineken
toast
for providing. Yeah, big shout out to that. However, so Crux Mansata, which we kind of segued and found out a lot more about what you're going to bring to the table a little bit later. But that name was, as we derived it, was the crux came from the cross.
Yeah, and like I said, the name of it is literally Latin for cross with a handle, and it's spelled Ansata, Ansata. Now Mansa, which is a name for a king, like king in Mali. And one of the richest person, even till this day, was an African named Mansa Musa. So what I did was just put the Mansa with the Ansata and got Mansata. So within my name it says king. You know what I'm saying?
Understood. Yeah. And I love the detail in choosing the name. Yeah. Because you rarely, or I've never heard, and I am one of the most documentary buffs out there. I've never heard of the king you just mentioned from Africa.
Oh, Mansa Musa?
Mansa Musa.
They don't teach you that. You can't learn it in school. They would never teach you that. Like I told you, even till this day, there's been nobody richer than him. Okay. Even till this day. Here's
what we're going to do on Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast right now. Tell me a little bit about this king.
Well, what he was, first we're going to go to Ghana. And, as a Jamaican, a lot of us have, basically, they say we come out of Ghana. Like, this is who we are as a people from the Ashanti tribe.
Okay.
As Jamaicans.
Yes.
So Ghana was one of the most powerful empire in West Africa. Now, Ghana got basically taken over by the Mali Empire, which was Mansa Musa. And Mansa Musa was a convert to Islam.
Okay.
So he introduced Islam to West Africa. But Ghana was known for its gold. So when he took over Ghana, he became very rich. You know what I'm saying? And what he did was, while he was a Muslim, he went and made, went to Mecca. And everywhere he went, he would bankrupt places because he had so much gold. If people don't know, that's why the eyes started to fall on Africa. Because I tell people, you don't go take and destroy a village or a place that's poor.
If it has nothing.
Nah, you go there because there's something there.
And they pillaged and
they killed, and because truth be told, the whole colonization did not start with "I hate you because you're black." They was on a mission for gold. That's why they went, and their eyes was on Africa because primarily due to Mansa Musa.
Because they saw the wealth that he accomplished by all the gold. Wow.
Yeah, and we're known for that. I mean, like I tell people all the time, your money is valueless. Your money has as much value as you put into it. It means really nothing. It's what you put into it.
Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast. Jules is being snuck by me, but I'm catching them. Yo, that was a very profound statement, because in this society, we live by that.
Yeah.
Say that again, my friend.
Money is, and anything has value according to what you put into it. As in, if I look at this mic and I start to value this mic, like this is my mic, then I put value into this mic, and that's how we treat money. Money is value. It holds no value at all. It's a piece of paper, but it depends on how much you as an individual put into it. You feel what I'm saying? So
you are being very wise in a lot of things that you're sharing right now, and I want to make sure we're able to maintain and capture this. So as we get ready to segue into our first break, I want to get to the meat of this, which your awareness. Where did that come from? What was your journey like? I mean, how, and you know what's funny? I'm glad you stopped. Here's what we'll take a quick break here on Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast. We're gonna come back. We're gonna slow this down, because what we just did is took a Usain Bolt trip from 0 to 100 real quickly. Yeah. But now we're gonna come back, find out what inspires, what created, what's moving him to be so aware of where we are right now, the power of us as Africans, and the power we have. We're going to discuss some touchy subjects tonight. Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast, Crux Mansata, Bob Marley in the background. We'll be back right after these messages. One. Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast, coming back with my boy Crux Mansata. Did I get that right?
Crux Mansata,
yeah. Crux Mansata.
That's right.
Yeah, because I'm Jamaican, extremely Jamaican, just like you are.
I mean, you saying it correctly, though.
Yeah, because I pronounce the T.
I gotta Americanize it.
Yeah, in Jamaica, we disrespect certain letters. The A always get this. I mean, the R always get disrespected. Yeah, instead of saying water.
And the H.
Water. Yeah, we definitely disrespect the H all day. So, but it's an honor, being here powwowing with you. And as I said before, I wanted to come back to this. The beginning of this awareness. What was that journey like? How did you become so aware of where you are right now? So go back. What was the family makeup like? Where are you from originally? The whole family.
Well, me, I'm from Jamaica, but all my family is here. I got family in Portland, Port Antonio, but everywhere, to be honest, we everywhere. There's a lot of us.
Yeah, Jamaicans are usually everywhere, bro.
A lot of us. Probably one of the biggest family out here. I got family everywhere. So we all over the place. I mean,
wow. So you grew up here in the U.S. or born in Jamaica?
I grew up here in the U.S. though.
Okay.
You mean?
Mom shuffled you back to Jamaica to get some of that sweet vibes.
Yeah. Most of my upbringing is here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's here.
Nice. So mom and dad are Jamaican.
Yeah.
What was growing up in that household like?
You already know everything was a weapon in the house. You already know the extension cord, flip flops, everything was a weapon. But
eyes,
everything
was a weapon.
You can't if you getting the beating if you dodge it. You get you when you fall asleep. That's how it works. So
that whole dynamic was a typical Jamaican family, very disciplined.
Yeah,
I'm sure there was a lot of church up in there.
Yeah, of course it was. I mean, because I think I want to say most Jamaicans, we come from a church background.
We do.
You
do. You know, it was noted that geographically there are more churches per square mile than bars in Jamaica. Yeah. And you know there's a lot of bars on the highway as you ride along. So
I'm not surprised at that though.
What was that like? Was it an accepting time in your life, or were you rebellious about this whole church? Because we can become a very, passionate set of people when it comes to church. I'm talking about Monday, Tuesday, don't miss Wednesday. If you miss Wednesday, you know what I mean?
Yeah, actually I went to church like probably twice a week. I was in a Boy Scout through church. I joined the Boy Scout. I was into church, Sunday school, all of that.
Big. Yeah. And that kind of had an influence on how you've been guided, or how was that whole thing?
I mean, I've always been a free thinker. So even when I was going through all of that, I still asked questions. I wanted to ask other people questions, but you're told not to ask. Don't question anything. But I would question things in my own mind. I'm very observant. I watch things and I keep it to myself, but I know if I like you from the first time I meet you, you can't be my friend. I could be your friend, but you can't be my friend. Like I pick, because the reason for that is that I care about people. So if I call you my friend or my brother or whatever, there's nothing I wouldn't do for you. So I would like to say I choose my friend correctly. And so when something goes wrong between someone I call my brother or friend, I take it personal, because that person I would have did anything for.
I gotta salute you on being so clear and macro on that definition of a friend.
Yeah.
Because I was having this conversation with my wife just on Sunday. And I was saying to her, if you really have a friend, you're going to take on their responsibility when they come through with an issue. Or
I wouldn't second guess it.
But we tend not to be as cautious.
Yeah.
Because it does add to the responsibilities on your shoulders. And if you're a true friend, which based on your definition, I hope by the end of this podcast I do fall into that category.
Yeah, it's cool.
But no, because at the end of the day, that's official. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
The thing is, I shouldn't be able to have to question your loyalty, because you don't have to question mine. Even if you're wrong, my job is to make sure that you're right. Even if you're wrong, I will talk about it later. But right now, my job is to make sure that you're okay, because I called you my brother, I called you my friend. So if you're not returning that same thing to me, I'm not gonna hate you as a person. But one thing about me, once I'm uncomfortable, I can't hide it. Like you'll know, you can't. You could apologize. I'll play you from a distance. So even if I'm around you, I could never be the same with you.
Understood, and I respect that. Taking a stand, having a line in the sand where
people know about me.
But at the end of the day, a lot of people don't have that. They compromise, and that's when you allow these BS in your life. So you came up to this Jamaican household. You went through the church system, high school. What was that like? Because I'm trying to get to what the journey was like for you to be.
To be honest, high school was. Like I got my brother with me. He'll tell you we was fighters. We fought. That's what we did. We fought, but we didn't fight because we loved to fight. We fought because like me, like I said, being Jamaican, we had the accent. You know what I mean? We would say tree.
Wow, my youth.
You know what I'm saying? Three. We would say tree.
Yeah, tree. Yeah, we disrespect
we
the
say
age.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
So a lot of fightings came through that because we didn't speak what they call proper English.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we fought mainly to really defend ourselves. You know what I mean? And even in school, I would tell people I bullied the bullies.
Big.
I bullied the bullies. If you was a bully, I wanted
Squirrel
to
Rosenberg Podcast. He's dropping jewels again.
I mean, I bullied the bullies.
Yo, that's big, because in your life, that's what you need to do.
Yeah, we don't believe, like me and my brothers, man. We don't like bullies. Yeah. Like if we in school and everyone's afraid of you, me in my heart, I'm gonna try you. Yeah, I mean, you beat me up, but I'm gonna try you.
I respect that challenge.
I'm gonna try you.
So, graduating high school, what was college? What's the teenage mid-adult life like?
I went to college. I went to community college, but I took psychology. My major was psychology. My undergrad was sociology. Ooh. Even though I didn't complete it, but I had good grades. I just didn't complete. I gotta go back.
Which college?
I went to community college because. You know what I mean? Actually, people don't know is that gives you a good start.
It does.
It's not. It's like going to the gym. People go to all these expensive gyms. It's what you put into it. Like, you go to the worst gym, but if you put in that time, you're going to get some results.
True.
You know what I mean?
Because it's not the school, it's the student.
Nah, it's the person. I was in college, people was cutting class. I'm like, nigga, you cutting class in college? Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I'm like, yo, dogs,
they're not disciplined.
No, I'm not cutting class in college. Like, come on.
No, I respect that. And I think maybe it's a third world perspective or what it is, because there's a lot of opportunities here. But when you're here and you're able to jump in.
Yeah.
So, segue out of college, what was the transition into adulthood like?
Well, the thing is, I went to college because, to be honest, I wanted to understand my daughter. Like, because I'm going to say we came from a broken home, like a broken family. And I know the effect that has on her. Because when you're a man, it's different from being a female. Because as a man, you could deny it. You can pretend. Because I always hear men say a female is like this because she has father issues. But we as men have father issues and mother issues, but we can deny it. We can sleep with 20,000 women. We're the man. But once that woman sleep with one man, it's over for her.
Yeah, true.
But I feel like women got the upper hand in that situation, because if you keep basically pointing out what is wrong with a female, like it, she has this type of issue. That female can address that issue. But as a man, if you never identify why you do the things you do, and you don't have to, then you would never fix those issues. So I feel like women in sense have the upper hand in when it comes to that.
Let's toast to that, bro. Let's get the screen bottles up to a very profound jewel you just dropped right there. No, for real.
I mean, yeah, so I wanted to understand my daughter, because I came from a broken family, and then when me and her mother separated, I started noticing that she was going through things. And so I said, I'm going to go to psychology. I'm going to take psychology in school so I could understand her mind. That
was the motivation?
That's why I went to college. Yeah. And and even though I didn't complete college, I used to take her to the college with me, and she used to be happy, because I was trying to do something that I never seen growing up. I was trying to show her something that nobody showed me growing up. Because us, it was okay. I'll tell you, it was okay to be wild. You know what I'm saying? Where we come from, how we grew up, it was okay to be wild.
Which is the typical story in every urban neighborhood.
It was okay to be wild. Because my family's like this. They all separated. We got one of the biggest family, but we all separated. But if you call one and say shit is going down, they coming.
The crew is coming out.
They come in.
So, because of your daughter, because of your mom, your daughter's mom, you wanted to understand the dynamic of the female and everything there, because I'm really impressed on how you were aware of that we as men, the role we need to play.
Yeah.
Because I think I missed something, and I'm not going to let you sneak this by me. We're going to take this break. We're going to come back, because what I want to find out on this when we come back, what created your awareness? Because you seem to be extremely aware. I drive around and I meet people, they're lost. They have no clue on, like, for instance, the fact that you wanted to go to college to learn, to understand that. What created that awareness? And there's a journey you shared with me in the pre-interview. So we're going to get back into that. Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast. We're going to take a break, come back, let this Bob rock out as we're feeling this Negril vibes in the studio. Bong. Back into this powwow, I wanted to number one, as we're saying, profound record here, but your awareness. I mean, what was that journey like? Because in the pre-interview, you told me you had an interesting walk through life.
Yeah. To be honest, my awareness really came from. See, I don't think nobody powerful came from, like, all the great people you think about had some type of struggle.
Turmoil. Agreed.
Over and over and over.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? No one that we know that is whether it's the elite or whatever you want to call it, made it there just by making it there. Like even like great revolutionaries, like they come from. You got to be oppressed. To be honest, I'm telling you, you got to be oppressed to because you fight back when you're oppressed, and if you don't realize that you're oppressed, you don't fight because you accept it. You think that everything's okay. But all the great leaders we ever had, whether they're white or black, whatever, they came from some type of struggle. You know what I'm saying? And I tell people all the time, you got to embrace the struggle because it's going to build you and it's going to make you, it's going to give you character. I mean,
you just dropped another jewel on Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast.
Yeah, you got to embrace it.
Embrace that struggle.
You got to embrace it because it's going to make you. It's going to make you or break you. But the strong people, they don't break. So it's going. If it broke you, you wasn't built for it.
True.
But the strong ones, like for instance, like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, like they knew where they was going. They knew that they wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
But they never gave. They still went through it because it's like once you get to that mindset, you start realizing like, yo, there's something you have to be doing. You got to be doing something. Like you're put here to do something. And even though in your heart you want to back out sometimes, it's like if you back out, then whatever you're supposed to be doing won't ever be completed. And so people like them realize like people are going to hate me, whether it's blacks, white, whatever. They're going to hate me. But I know I have a job to do and I'm going to continue to do this job.
So let's talk about that job.
I mean,
you had shared the journey you went through to be aware of what your role is in this world. What was that journey like?
I mean, growing up in like, I'm not going to say urban because when I grew up in Inglewood, and at one point Inglewood was like Patterson. You know what I'm saying?
Hard to believe right now, but
yeah, because it's Bergen County, and now this is the thing, it's so much money in Bergen County as a whole that they'll never allow it to run down the way it was. But when we grew up on a block and that had crack block. We grew up on a crack block with curfews. I had a curfew. We grew up with people that close to me that I call my family, and family members have got murdered. And we grew up doing that type of through that era. So I would say even though I'm from Bergen County, and I'll be honest, because we're from Bergen County, and it's known to have certain type of, we don't have respect. We don't get certain respect like how, say for instance, Patterson and Newark,
True.
Because they look at us a certain way. But the era we grew up in, it was totally different, like crack pipes. Because I really think in around the 80s, the 90s, I don't think there's a black neighborhood that wasn't that
affected.
way.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I'm saying?
You're right, 100%.
So, like I said, we had curfews. I see crackheads in my backyard pissing on my windows, Christmas and all types of shit. And we the only thing about us though, at one point we was a family. Like my city was a family, as in we fought and we protected each other. But when the gangs came, then that's when everybody got divided. The gangs divided everybody. So now it wasn't you're from my town. It was you're not from my gang. You know what I mean?
From the same town, but not my gang.
You're not from my gang. So now that because you're not from my gang, I can't be loyal to you no more. I got to give my loyalty to the gang. And the thing about it, Inglewood is so small that I can't do anything to you without someone I know feeling the effect of it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So it creates this cycle of...
Yeah, because everybody's mom is everybody. It's like everybody's mom is cool with everybody's mom.
So let me ask you this. Did you get caught up in that whole activity? Yeah,
I started gangbanging. I mean, you know what? I got into a gang when I was young, and I understood very well while I was young what I was into.
No, but here's what's interesting. You come from a solid family. Mom and dad were there. Yeah. Normally, the gang story is I wanted to be a part of a family. How did you?
Because you couldn't have mom and dad and still be in a broken home. You know what I'm saying? Mom and dad was there, but the home is broken. Like, it was broken. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, and plus my mom was young. So my mom always I feel like my mom tried to relive that youth because she had me when she was young. So, and you know what I mean? And I realized that, you know, now that I'm older, I realize that. When I was young, I didn't realize that. Because when you have kids when you're young and you continue to have kids, you don't have a childhood.
True.
It's the same thing with a person that does 10 years in jail. A lot of times when they come home, their whole plan is to try to relive the years that they lost, but you can't get that back. You know what I'm saying? So it took me a while to realize that, like, you know, that my mom was young. And I love my mom. You know, I got so much respect for my mom because, like, through no matter what we've been through, good or bad, she always made it through somehow.
Can we toast the mom real quick?
Yeah, we got to toast the mom.
Yeah, big shout out to moms.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm very fascinated by your honesty in this. So, and a lot of people may think, and I'm very appreciative of the fact that although you're from a mom and dad home, the home was broken.
Yeah, it was broken.
You know, I respect the honesty. So now you're in this, you're attracted into this gang.
Yeah, but you know, to be honest, the people that I joined the gang with, we didn't see it like that.
You were just hanging out.
You can't understand a person that's in a gang unless you actually really talk to a person in a gang. I'll be honest, a gang is the blind leading the blind. That's a gang, the blind leading the blind.
Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast. Yo, let's look right into the main camera, my dear. Right? Come on. Yo, just could you say that so profoundly, my dude?
A gang is the blind leading the blind, and I could vouch for that because I lived it.
You're dropping a lot of jewels right now, my friend.
Because I'll be honest, man, anyone, first of all, put it like this. You know what I mean? When I was in a gang, I could have got anybody to do anything negative. They was willing. No bullshit. I used to have people like open car doors for me, and I would call people and they would come. But the day I said, yo, let's get jobs, let's go rent cars so we could go to see different things, it's like everybody started feeling different towards me because I had this image. I carried myself a certain way. People hated me because of that.
So, okay, all right, wow. You are now in the gang.
Yeah.
You're now obviously in a position of leadership.
To be honest, I joined the gang. I literally sacrificed myself to save people, put it like that. Because I knew me. I knew no one was going to tell me to do nothing I didn't want to do. If I did it, I wanted to do it. Like a OG, whatever. In a certain situation, I was willing to die. You gotta be willing to die for certain situations.
You were?
Yeah, I was willing to die for certain situations. Like, I was never willing to die for a person I never knew. Like,
back to the value of a friend.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would never. I don't know you, and my loyalty is that deep that I can't die for you because I don't know you. But the thing is, my brothers, we all are in gangs, and me being one of the older heads, I put a whole plan in motion, and my plan in motion was, I gotta get, even though I'm the first one to introduce it to my family. So for a while, I carried a burden on my shoulder. Like, I did things I didn't want to do.
When you said introduce it,
like when I started being involved in a gang, I was young, so I was just living it, not really understanding it, but I was just living it. So I see gang members, I understand it, because at certain times you live it and you don't understand it, and you just living it.
Just going through the motion.
You don't get it. Sometimes people don't get it until it's too late. But me, I when I joined it, is those people that I joined it with was we all was having the same struggle. You know what I'm saying? We all end up in an apartment with no mom and dad, and we was taking care of each other, like shoplifting from 7-Eleven just to eat and doing whatever it's saying. And this became like and that's saying we already formed a little before family. The gang, and then because for some reason, gangs swept everywhere. You find gangs anywhere now. First of all, in Jersey, I tell people there's no street gangs in Jersey. There's only prison gangs. Cause if you go to Cali, like in places where the gangs originated, those are street gangs. You go 10 blocks, 10, 15 blocks, and 10, 15 blocks is all gangs. Yeah. You're not really seeing that in Jersey. I mean, there are blocks, but a lot of times that I'm realizing is in Jersey is that people don't even, they're locking everybody up and they're coming home gang members. So that's different. You feel what I'm saying? People are not going in gang members. They're coming home gang members because in there you got to survive.
which is where the family protective unit comes from.
Yeah, you got to survive.
So let me ask you this, as we get ready to wrap on this segment. Through this whole process, and it seems like you've gone through the growth, was there a turning point where why did you want to bring positivity into the gang?
Because I understood, like, from a long time, because I'm deep. Like, when I say I'm deep is, like, I look at my people, and I say my people as in my people. And I consider the Hispanics my people. I consider the African, black, whatever my people. And I think my people as a whole don't see what's happening to them. Because I think I was telling you before, the thing we chase the most is money. But that's the thing that is destroying us, because money only creates depth. It doesn't save you, it creates depth. And enough money could be printed where no one could. For instance, poverty is man-made. Poverty is man-made. You create poverty because as long as there's poverty, those people that's in poverty, you can always use them as a machine or a puppet. So you create poverty in certain area, and when you want certain people to do certain things, you offer them something, because those people have nothing. And when you have nothing and you're tired of having nothing, when somebody offers you even a little bit, you're thinking like, I'm gonna do it because I'm tired of having nothing. So poverty is man-made, and that thing that creates poverty is money, because people don't understand it's only 3%, probably less now, of the dollar that actually circulates. So you feel what I'm saying? So you look at it like, hey, money is the answer, but it's only 3% of that money that actually circulates. Really what you need is credit. Because when I started walking the straight and narrow, and I try to get an apartment, I call you, let me do your background check first and check your credit. So I'm like, damn, I gotta have credit to get an apartment. Not even in the house. You need a credit for apartment. So now I'm like, damn, I need credit for apartment. And they're turning me down like, yo, we just did this and nah, are you dead? They won't hit you with that. They hit you like, we'll give you a call.
Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast. We're dibbling and dabbling, a little bit, and I want to, number one, salute you for the transparency in everything you've shared so far. And as we take this break, I'm going to come back, and I want to know, because as we transition out of the gang awareness, you joined the gang and you were all in knee deep. Once you got out of that and the impact you're making now, and where you're going, and what you've learned, I want to come back and touch into that. Crux Mansata, Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast, knowledge, one of our most conscious podcasts. Bob Marley in the background, Heineken's on the table. Yeah, respect. Rosenberg Podcast, coming in with my boy Crux Mansata. Crux Mansata. Yeah. You see, back to that whole phrase again. I pronounce the T's. The guys with the accent thing. Because in Jamaica they say Sata.
Like a D. The T is like D.
Yeah.
Crux Mansata.
Yeah, Crux Mansata. Yeah. So when we wrapped up that last segment, we were talking about the transition, or the being in the gang and the whole blind leading the blind, and your perspective on it for being in the gang and coming out of it. What was the tipping point?
You know what? I watched this documentary, and it was on. I mean, that wasn't it, but it gave me the push to be like, all right. It was this. I think it's called Made in the U.S. or something like Made in America. And it was about the Bloods and Crips.
Okay.
And then I watched another documentary, and it was in Chicago, and something stood out to me in that documentary. When you watch that documentary, some part, and I could be mistaking it with another documentary, but it's some documentary I'm watching. It was a gang member, and he said that they woke up and they was found like by train stations, by the like rail cars full with guns in the middle of the hood. And then when I was watching the documentary in Chicago, somebody else said the same thing. Like they would just found all types of army guns just in the middle of the hood, just like there. You know what I'm saying? And then it started making sense to me. You know what I'm saying? I knew exactly why it was there and why we do the things we do. It's because for instance, like from the Black Panthers, and you're always going to have, first of all, when something happens, there's always a cause and an effect. Like you do something, like you can never really stop gangs, because you cut the head off and then there's somebody else. You know what I'm saying? That's how it goes. But the problem is, from the Black Panthers, not the problem, but when they started, and they had free lunch programs and free health cares, and they had people standing right next to you with a law book in their hand. So when the police was doing something, they would read the law right to the police, and they would even shoot cops. Not saying it was okay, but they was willing to do whatever they had to do to protect
that community,
their people. Yeah. So that had to be dismantled, and that had to be dismantled because it created a problem for government. Like if you have these people getting free healthcare and these people getting free food and setting up lunch programs and free health, whatever, all types of stuff, even then you don't need
the support of the
exactly.
However, the initial question that led us down this path was, what was the transition? And I keep going back to this.
The transition for me, that got me into it, or got
you awoken?
Because like I said,
if that's the word, I don't think that's a word in the English language, but I'm going to call it a Jamaican. But what would cause you to become more aware?
Because I started understanding, it really stemmed from, like I was explaining to you, like you dismantle that, and then I call the Bloods and Crips, I say the bastard child of the Black Panthers, because they actually originally started for that same purpose as the Black Panthers.
True.
But there was also something where I read it, and I read of numerous people saying it. It makes sense to me, but drugs was incorporated in certain communities, certain urban communities, purposely. If I'm saying THC, weed was incorporated, and it had to do with to see how certain people would react to certain drugs. Because actually people don't understand that the blacks, the Hispanics, low income, poor people, even white people, you are the guinea pig, like the lab rat of society. So you don't. So, but how I got into that was I started realizing that the Crips and the Bloods and the Crips started from something positive, and then the drugs came in, and then when the drugs came in, it causes division, and then it was a war on drugs. You see what I'm saying? So the war on drugs meant you target certain people, you target certain communities. So I started picking up on that, and I said that we become the puppet of a higher power. So
you're telling me basically during the whole transition of you being the top of this gang and you're now awoken by what you see going on, and these changes around you, other gangs that are going.
I just wanted, even when I was in the gang, I couldn't hate somebody because they were opposite color. And I've been around people that would do crazy things without second guessing it. But in my heart, I couldn't hate a person just to hate a person. So even then, when I was involved with certain things, in my heart, I couldn't just hate you. And you would have to give me a real reason for me to want to do something to you. And
I think one of the things I'm really impressed about, because here you have really dabbled on a lot of tidbits of information that we're going to touch on in this last segment. However, as you transition out of the gang, right? And you're now aware, because in our pre-interview, you mentioned the marquees or the talents that you represent, which is a rapper.
Yeah.
You're a writer.
Yeah.
You're a motivator. And you're a teacher of Africanism.
Africanism, yeah.
So when you look at all of that, I can understand the journey and the view you're going to have looking back. But as we touch on all those, let's touch on the Africanism.
All right. Well, like I said, they kind of all fall into the same category, because why us? And when I say why us, is why don't we have anything? Like, we build this country. We build all the great nations that you think of on our back.
Okay, so when you say we, because we're talking about black and white here.
I'm talking about the people that you know as the Africans, the people that you know as the indigenous people.
The Indians?
There's no Indians. There was no Indians before Columbus. I'm sorry. That might hurt people's feelings. But there was no Indians. Like when before Columbus came to wherever he came, we did not. And I say we because whether you're Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, Jamaican, we are the same people of the same bloodline and the same culture. And we did not consider ourselves Indians. And that was a term that was given to us. And even the Native Americans, now we can't even call them Indians because they're smart enough to tell you that I'm not an Indian. So we used to say Indians, and because they said I'm not an Indian, don't call me an Indian, this is why we use the word or the term Native Americans now, because they said don't call me Indian. Because all right, are you from India?
No, I'm not from India. I'm from Jamaica.
All right, so but you're considered West Indian.
Hold on. You just pull a fast one on my.
I'm just asking.
Okay, yeah, because I'm from the West Indies.
Well, who said that was the West Indies?
Columbus, when he.
Exactly. You're making my point. Basically, you are considered a West Indian because Columbus called you West Indians. The people here are considered Indians because Columbus called them Indians. So you're no more than an Indian that's here. You're just as Indian as them because of the title.
Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast.
You know what I'm saying?
A lot of jewels being dropped right now. I hope you guys got your seatbelt on, put a goggles on, your scarf on. We're going in. Are you serious?
You're a West Indian, right? You're considered a West Indian, right? That's equivalent to say these people in the Caribbean is called the Taino Indians, right? The Native Americans are called American Indians, right? Why? How is everybody Indian? Where did that title Indian come from?
So it's not a ethnicity; it's a title.
It's a title, and we're the only one that's still carrying that title. If you realize it, people are saying, "Yo, don't call me that," because you're not from India. The only Indians I know and recognize are people from India.
Which would make sense there because, okay.
They're Indians.
So,
well, technically Asians, but, you know.
Yeah. So the African descent, which we all are, because we know the whole progress with the Middle Passage and how we got here.
Well, all right. So what it is the first Native Americans were Aborigines from out of Africa. If you ever looked at an Aborigine,
and we're talking about Aborigine, you automatically think Australia.
No, yeah, because they only teach you Australia, but they were in America too. They're actually the same people in the Caribbeans. Like, you're Jamaican, so you have it. We all share it. But we just know them as the Maroons. We call them Maroons. What the Dominicans and the Cubans and the Puerto Ricans call Taino, in Jamaica we call Maroons. From saying, but they're the same people. Even in Florida, they was in Florida. So what they are is, if you actually look at the Aborigine and look at a person that's today known as an Indian, they look no different. They look exactly the same. What happened is Columbus got lost on his way to India. Everyone he encountered, he named the Indian. So we still carry that.
Slow down. Dropping knowledge here on Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast.
I mean,
no, for real. Run that again, my friend.
I mean, by now.
No, say those words again so they can understand.
I'm saying, Columbus got lost on his way to India, and everyone he encountered, he called an Indian, and that's for a reason. Is because, like I told you, the Aborigines, which are the original people of America, Australia. If you ever look at them and look at the Indian, because they actually are the same people that migrated, they look no different from the people that we know today as Indians. They look exactly the same.
You're 100% correct.
They look exactly the same. That's who we are. Because an Aborigine could be as dark as you,
yes,
coarse hair,
yes,
straight hair, and that's another misconception, because they teach you that the shape of your nose, the texture of your hair, the color of your eye is because you come from a certain group of people, which is not true, because there's Africans which have blonde hair, which have everyone with blue eyes whether white or black, share one common ancestor. So that has nothing to do with you being European or you being white. It's just something they've been teaching you, and that's how you separate people. You separate people by giving people title. So they're very clever at that.
So let's just go back and slow that up, because if you go back 3 or 4 statements from what you just said, if we're all descended from the same people and there's no difference between black and white, or is there a black and white?
No, there's no black and white. It's melanin, lack of melanin. Like, no one is black, no one is white. But I got to tell people they're black because people are not telling you about melanin. They're telling you that you're black. So in order for you to understand what I'm saying, I got to say, yo, my black brother, you're black. But there's no such thing as a black person or a white person. That's a color. Like, we can't be. All right, does this make sense? You are considered black. A white person is considered white. An Indian is considered red. And a Chinese is considered yellow.
What?
You don't get, like, because that is a color code that someone came up with to separate you. Why? Because everywhere they went, the original man, this might offend some people, were dark. It was actually a war called the Black War. And what they did was they considered you not to be civilized. So the only way to civilize you was by imposing their belief on you. Their religion is one. Now, if you study, let's say we get into voodoo, and I'm not religious, whether voodoo with Christianity, whatever, I'm not religious. But let's say get into voodoo because you're Jamaican, and in Jamaica we know voodoo is obia.
I'm so Jamaican, especially on Sundays. Buck, 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 buck.
But voodoo is obia.
Yes, I do.
And
yes.
It is voodoo.
Yes.
But reality is the reason why obia or voodoo is because in all the Caribbean islands, or any place you can think of, wherever there's predominantly African, there's gonna be voodoo or obia, because that is the original religion that came with the Africa. And in the Spanish-speaking place, it's called Santeria. It's called all of this. But wherever there's predominantly Africans or people of African origin, that is always gonna be a part of their system, because that is the belief that we came with. Now, the reason why that had to be banned is because it made us rebellious. It made us fight back
against the slave owners.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because put like this, what you know about voodoo is what everyone knows, because it's commercialized as black magic or a voodoo doll. But the real teaching of voodoo is it's a visible world and an invisible world. And the only way to see that invisible world is through what we know as death. And you, as a dead person, have a job. Your job is to watch over your living. You watch over your living. So us, as our old culture before it got taken, is we pray to our ancestors for protection. So if you listen to what I'm saying to you, the Indians still do that.
Yeah, they do.
They do. So it's because we're the same people with the same culture, and I say Indians are for what we've been taught.
Just clarify that, because you've awoken us with the difference between that we're all Indians.
Like I said, and sometimes I gotta still use that term because people can't understand certain things unless you say black, unless you say Indian.
And I love the fact that we are even getting into this. And let me first take this moment to apologize to my son guy E-Dub, because he's like showing me the fingers, but we got to go in, my dude. So let's keep that Audacity file rolling right now. Manny, make sure the cameras are warm. Here's what we want to touch into. As you're being aware of where we stand in terms of this, and I'll use this word color, because you're right, you defined it. There's no color. No. There's melanin or no melanin.
Well, you got to understand that color comes with a characteristic, as in when they created the color code, they created characteristic. So when you call yourself black, you know yourself as being black, but do you know the things that came with being black? Unruly, uncontrollable, certain things.
Bad luck.
It's a lot of things that come with that term being black. First of all, you as a person, once you call yourself black, you're not owed any reparations. So you can't be like, I want reparations for what happened to us, when you consider yourself black, or even technically really consider yourself an American.
You have to be African American.
You gotta say, I'm African, these are my people, this happened to us, and I want reparations. But you keep saying, I'm black, I'm this and that, I'm not African, they don't look like me, but then you ask for reparations.
So the color code, and you're right, because when you started explaining that, I started understanding, and let's just be real on the show right now. Stereotypical statements are made about different colors.
They still do it today. And they do that. First of all, you gotta understand, you're born into a system, whether it's school, whether it's religion, you're born into a system. If I ask you why you're a Christian, you're gonna say my grandma and so on was a Christian. So we're passed down. So I always ask people, have you ever taken the time to study something outside of what they teach you? Because it goes deep to the Romans and the Romans taking this, because now you have a choice to say I'm a Christian, but in reality, when Christianity was first being informed, you had no choice.
Yeah, either Christianity or die.
You had no choice. They did it to what we call the Tainos and the Caribbeans. They had no choice. They did it to our ancestors, which we call Africans. They had no choice because they looked at you as being uncivilized, and the only way to civilize you was through Christianity. Why? Because our religion said our ancestors watched over us, so when something went wrong, we prayed to our ancestors, and then we would give us the strength and we would go fight you. So now there's a new system comes, and that system takes away your belief and it replaces it with a system that says turn the other cheek, God is going to handle it. So while you're being victimized, you're saying someone else is going to take care of it. But if you go all the way back into any ancient civilization or any person that calls himself a god or a kingdom, if I was your god and I ruled your kingdom, when something were happening to you, I would say, these are my people, they're coming to harm us, I'm going to go protect them. Now it's, these are my people, we're getting victimized, God is going to handle it.
Well, I would have to challenge you on that, because the philosophy, and there's a big difference between a relationship and religion. No, hear me out. Because, I'll let you go in, because I got to say this on behalf, because I have had a relationship with God. I can tell you this much. I'm a Christian.
I know that.
And it's not through, initially, it was through what you said, my grandmother, the whole thing. However, through my experiences, I have seen and experienced physically his hand on my life. So I can sit here and tell you there's a God who does exist. But here's where I can also complement what you're saying about the voodoo and we praying to our ancestors, because what I've come to find out, and a lot of people are going to hate me for this, God is in us.
All right, so what you just said, I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm going to agree with you to a certain extent. I'm going to agree with you because the mind is the most powerful thing. Whatever you believe becomes true.
Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast. Straight jewels being dropped right now. Say that again.
Whatever you say is real is real. Whatever you say isn't real is real. You say you're ugly, you're ugly. You say you're fat, you're fat. You say you're sexy, you're sexy. As long as you believe it, it becomes real.
That is so
That's
powerful.
That's why they teach you that in school from the first of all, even in school, the school system goes against your religious system, because your school system is saying believe in yourself and you could do it. The religious system is saying believe in somebody else and it can happen. All the systems kind of bump heads. That's why we have so much chaos in the world, because if you really think about all the system that we're under, they technically always bump heads. You know what I'm saying? You can't say believe in myself, you can achieve if you believe, and you're telling these kids to believe and you can achieve, and then you have the religious saying believe in the higher power, because the higher power makes everything happen, because that's two systems that's telling you two different things.
However, and I must challenge you on this, it's because, and you are right to a certain extent, because we've been programmed, people do exactly what you're saying on here, the religion side. They say, okay, you know what? I'm going to pray about it. He's going to take care of it. Hold up. The God I worship is what we call an action God. And what that means is this. If I want something to happen, I don't pray about it and then turn on and watch the Kardashians. Guess what I do? I silence myself. Then I realize the voice inside, which could be my ancestors talking to me. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna disagree on that, but the way I look at it is this. Okay, let me break it down to a simple choice, and I hate to be long-winded with this.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're my boy.
Mm-hmm.
I know you. So if I'm going through an issue and you come and I talk to you, the way I see it is, if God were to appear and say, Squirrel, do this, I would be so amazed and I wouldn't even hear what he said. But if he speaks through you, because I'm aware, and you tell me, like the conversation we had on the pre-interview, let me rephrase it. I know it was the God I know talking through you.
Because you believe that. So it's real.
Okay.
So you believe it is real.
However, the point I'm trying to make is this. It boils down to people should not be caught up in the rituals. And when you're caught up in the rituals, you're missed the boat completely. You follow?
What's the rituals?
Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna wrap this last piece up right here because it's getting deep right here. We're gonna take a quick 2-minute break. Come back. Wrap this up with Crux Mansata. We're getting deep here. Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast. A lot of knowledge, a lot of jewels. Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast, coming back with my boy Crux Mansata. I think I got that right there.
Crux Mansata.
Yeah, Crux Mansata. We've been really getting into the enlightening discussion on religion and how it worked to separate, and I've known that. I'm not debating that, but we are gonna have to. Number one, I want to touch on two minor things or major things. We're gonna put what I call a stick a pin on that conversation I was saying in Jamaica that we had earlier, because we're gonna have you back on the show where we can go in and dissect that.
Yeah, because
it's gonna be a good dissecting.
Yeah,
and we have people a little bit more teased right now on where this is gonna go. However, on this particular matter, when in our pre-interview we were talking about children and the benefits of children, and you experiencing your first child.
Yeah.
Expound on that.
Well, my first child, I'm gonna say she saved my life. I literally saved my life because there's things that I wanted to do, like for instance, when I got shot, when I got cut, there's things that I wanted to do, and I.
Whoa! You got shot?
I got shot. I got cut but that's the type of things that come with the lifestyle I was living. So, as crazy as it may sound, I just wore the scars as a badge of honor because it came with that lifestyle. But I was living it, and like I was saying, sometimes you live it and don't realize it because I was in war zones, had my daughter in a dangerous place and places I shouldn't have her. And I look back at it, and now I could tell myself I was crazy. But at that moment, I was just living what I thought was how I was supposed to be living.
How did she save your life?
Because she would have conversations with me and she would say certain things like, like it was one time I was having a conversation with myself and I said, I just want to make this little girl happy. And while I was going inside the store, I had $15 in my pocket. That's when I stopped doing whatever I was doing. I was trying to walk the straight and narrow. I had $15, and that $15 had to go to my daughter. And I just remember right before we walked in the store, she caught me. She's walked in front of me and she said, Daddy, I just want to make you happy. And that was a conversation that I had with myself right before she said it to me.
That you want to make her happy.
Yeah, and like I said, when she found out like where I was living and she's only 10 years old, but even when she was 4 or 5 years old, she would say, I don't want you to die. I don't want you to die. So when you have your child coming to you saying, I don't want you to die, you just like, I had it on my conscience, like I can't fail her. And she saved me, like I said. She literally saved me.
What's her name?
Soleil.
Yeah, big shout out to Soleil.
Yeah, she saved me. So now I get personal with my daughter. Like I see, that's what I'm saying. Before it's like I was living and I would like you in a gang, and then these people you like, yo, they call you, and when they call you, you go do something, you might die, and then you be on a T-shirt. Or you be in a video, a music video, or whatever, but you're dead. And what did you die for? So now I just said, I know what I'm gonna die for and what I'm willing to die for. And that's the thing. What are you gonna die for? Like, what are you willing to die for? And I always said, if I'm dead or if I'm in prison or whatever, I can't protect my babies. And my job as a man is to protect my babies.
Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast. Yeah, let's look into that camera and say that, my dude.
Say my job as a man is to protect my babies.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to die for that. That's what I said. When I tried to fall away from it, I was getting the death threats. I was getting the phone call, this and that. I was getting the people that was running with me, and they was upset at me because, in a sense, I'm not saying I made it cool, but I was a figure in this lifestyle, and everybody knew me, and they hated me, and they loved me. They hated me because I made it, because people looked up to me, and they want me gone. And then there's other people that loved me because I made it cool. And they wanted me around, and they wanted to be a part of something. And one thing stood out to me one day is that I was at McDonald's, and I had my bandana and my Converses, whatever, with the bandana print. And the little kids walked in, and they was like, "Oh, what's up?" And they was happy because they knew who I was from the street. And I started sitting in the back looking around me, and I'm like, none of these white people don't know me. You know what I'm saying? I'm nobody. But these kids that look like me
know who you are.
Trying to follow in my footsteps.
Look at the influence you were making.
Yeah, and then I had my brothers and my cousins, and this what stuck with me. And they was like, we gang bang because you gang bang. We do music because you do music. So for a very, very long time, I carried that on my shoulder. I get the phone calls 3 o'clock in the morning, laying next to my lady. Something is going down in my heart. I don't want to go, but I go. Because I carried it like a burden on me for that long. So even a certain gang that I got involved with that gang, but to save my brothers. Because I knew, like, once I got involved in it, could nobody tell me nothing. And like that, like I said, my family was something I was willing to die for.
Here's what's interesting about what you've been sharing. The fact that you have, kept that third eye open.
Yeah.
Like you went on that ride. There's a story in the Bible, which is the prodigal son, which he goes on this journey away from, his father's home. But on that ride, you seem to have that bird's eye view of everything that has happened. It's like that GoPro that was following you for you to become so retrospective on the journey now. Let me ask you this as we get ready to wrap. Considering the entire ride you've taken, and the Africanism, the self-expression and awareness and confidence you have in not only being you, but in being the quote-unquote, let's use the definitions in our world today, the color definition, the black man, right?
Yeah. Before we wrap it up, there's 2 things I want to touch on. I'll make it short. Even now, because I'm always reading, and like you, all the leaders are readers. Like, if
could you say that again in slow motion to the camera, my friend? So this guy, say that again.
All the leaders are readers. Like, you cannot lead without reading.
All the leaders are readers.
Because even with the slaves, you wasn't allowed to read.
True.
Because they feared if you read, then you would have the power to free other people. So they never let you read. And even how they're teaching is saying that the slaves were ignorant, or say dumb, and didn't know how to read or write. Of course, if you come out of Africa and this language here is English, how do you know how to read and write English? But the way they're teaching is like they're dumb. But the real reality is these people had their own writing system and their own thing.
Languages,
but the way they say it to you is like they was illiterate. Of course, they had to be illiterate. You don't speak this foreign language. You don't write this foreign language.
Which is what a lot of Spanish and a lot of immigrants coming here are dealing with right now.
Exactly. So it's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So one thing I came across was this thing called drapetomania. Drapetomania. And drapetomania back then, it was a guy named Samuel Cartwright. And what he did was, he literally scientifically, because he was a science, said, we suffered from a mental illness, and for years and years, it was literally categorized as a mental illness for a slave or an African wanting to be free. So if you was in captivity and held against your will, when you ran away, you had a mental illness.
Why would I want to run away?
Exactly. So it was called drapetomania. You want to run away, like we're enslaving you, we're doing all this fucked up shit to you, and then you want to run away, you must have a mental illness. And for years and years, they did that to us. And the way to break you out of that was to whip you and put you in the sun with your wounds open because you had a mental illness. And there was another one called, I think it's called dysphagia ethiopica, and that was another illness that they said you had, and that made you lazy. You know what I'm saying? So that, like I said, it's a system, and that system never went away. True. Now, me and you are going to have different point of views on religion, you know what I mean? But my mentality is this. These people did this for you for 300 years, and then they gave you a book and said they were going to uplift you. So in my head, it's like you whip me, you rape me, you kill me, you sell my family, and then you said, here's this book to uplift you. To me, that makes no sense. It has to be, you know what I mean? Because if you study your history, Europeans, even the KKK, still this day, they've always been a Christian nation. They've never been anything else.
Which is crazy.
They've never been anything else.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
So you had mentioned the two things, and the first was
draped ammonia.
Yeah. You had mentioned two other points, which you wanted to touch on before we close. However, I wanted to, before you mention the second point, I wanted to ask you this. And I always ask my guests this real quickly as we come to the end of the show. In this world, I have the magic wand. I give it to you. You got two things that you can make an impact on. What would be those two things?
One, I would tell my people to stop when you consider yourself who you are, even if you're an African American or Hispanic, stop going to slavery, because that's just the beginning of something here. But you was kings and queens beyond that. So when you study your history, it's okay if I say I'm a slave or we came from slavery. Nobody ever bashes me. But when I start saying we were kings and we built this, till this day, nobody knew how the pyramids was made. And that's in Africa. But if I say, we were great leaders and our culture got taken and divided amongst the great, and the reason why you're in your situation is for you never to want to fight back for your shit. Stop going to slavery, because you got to go go way back and understand who you are and where you came from.
And valid to your life.
Exactly. But if you keep telling the person that they came from slavery, then they're going to think that this is who I am.
Second thing.
I mean, the second thing is I would actually make sure that my kids, they would never suffer, and they would never. I want my kids to have their knowledge of free thinking. I want them to be free thinkers. I want them to question every single thing that has been taught, because everything has an origin. And every word stems from something. From saying, so question everything. Question every single thing you've ever been told. If they say stay away from it, embrace it. Question everything.
Squirrel Rosenberg Podcast, powerful ending. Crux Mansata. Yo, thank you so much, my friend. Yo, thank you so much, bro. Beautiful ending. I couldn't end it any other way, bro. I couldn't end it any other way. Yo, guys, we're going to put this up immediately. Check out our SoundCloud, Squirrel Rosenberg Radio. It's going to be on our YouTube channel, squirrelrosenbergradio.tv. Once again, to everybody that's in the house, once again, a phenomenal podcast. I'm going to have you back. And we're going to really, we could really keep talking. You don't even get up yet, bro. We got to take this quick photo. So as we get ready to close, guys, thank you for tuning in. Squirrel Rosenberg Radio, Squirrel Rosenberg TV.
There's money to be made.